History is full of strange stories, tales that defy logic and challenge our understanding of the past. Some are inspiring, others are tragic, but few reach the level of sheer, unadulterated bizarreness that we're about to explore. But few are as bizarre, as utterly shocking as the Cadaver Synod of 897 AD. A moment in history so dark, so unsettling, it continues to fascinate and horrify us over a millennium later. Imagine, a pope's corpse dug up after months in the grave, exhumed from its final resting place in a macabre parody of resurrection. Dressed in papal robes, the very symbols of his former authority, now mocking his lifeless state. And put on trial in a Roman basilica, a spectacle of the grotesque, a perversion of justice, all within the sacred walls of the church. Pope Stephen VI presided, his face twisted with fury, a man consumed by hatred and a thirst for retribution. While the rotting body of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, sat propped on a throne, a ghastly image of power and decay, a symbol of the brutal realities of medieval politics. A terrified deacon was forced to speak for the dead, his voice trembling as he answered the charges leveled against the silent corpse. This wasn't justice, it was revenge, a calculated act of desecration disguised as a legal proceeding, a grotesque climax to a bitter power struggle inside the Vatican, a battle for control waged with ruthless intensity. The papacy, far from being just a spiritual office, was a political prize, a source of immense power and influence in a turbulent world. And men would do anything to claim it, even resorting to the unthinkable to secure their position. The Cadaver Synod is a chilling reminder, a stark illustration of the depths to which human ambition can sink. When power is at stake, the line between sacred and profane can vanish, leaving behind only the cold, hard reality of political maneuvering. To understand this macabre trial, to truly grasp the motivations and the consequences, we must step into the chaos of 9th century Italy, a land of shifting loyalties and constant conflict. There, shifting alliances and ruthless ambition ruled the day, where powerful families vied for control, and the papacy was a pawn in their game. Even the holiest institutions could be corrupted by human greed, their ideals tarnished by the relentless pursuit of power and wealth. And sometimes, the dead are forced to pay the price, their bodies and reputations dragged into the living's battles. At the heart of this drama are two popes, Formosus, the ambitious churchman, and Stephen VI, his vengeful successor. Formosus was respected, charismatic, and a rising star, but his success bred powerful enemies. He was excommunicated, reinstated, and finally elected pope amid fierce political division. His papacy pitted him against the Spoleto family, who saw him as a threat. Stephen VI, their puppet, rose to power after Formosus's death. For Stephen, the trial was personal, a chance to erase his rival's legacy. Was it politics, hatred, or both? Historians still debate. But Stephen's obsession would lead to one of history's most grotesque spectacles. He was determined to destroy Formosus, even if it meant putting a corpse on trial. 9th century Italy was a fractured land, a battlefield of rival factions vying for power and influence. The peninsula was far from unified, and local lords and foreign powers constantly clashed. The once mighty Carolingian Empire, which had briefly united much of Western Europe, was collapsing under its own weight, its vast territories splintering into smaller, competing kingdoms. And Rome, the eternal city, was the ultimate prize, a symbol of prestige and legitimacy for any ruler who could control it. The Pope, as the spiritual leader of Christendom, held immense power. He could crown emperors, bestowing divine authority upon them, making the papacy a highly sought-after political football. Two major factions fought relentlessly for control of the papacy and by extension Rome itself. One faction was the East Franks, the ancestors of modern-day Germans led by the ambitious Arnulf of Carinthia. The other was the Spoletans, a powerful Italian noble family led by Guy and Lambert, who controlled significant territories in central Italy. Pope Formosus, caught in this dangerous game of power, found himself in a precarious position. He deeply distrusted the Spoletans and their ambitions. In a desperate gamble, Formosus secretly invited Arnulf to invade Italy, hoping to break the Spoletans' grip on Rome and secure his own position. Arnulf's victory, however, proved to be brief and fleeting, a mere moment of triumph in a long and brutal struggle. He suffered a debilitating stroke, weakening his hold on power, and Formosus himself died soon after, leaving a power vacuum in Rome. Seizing the opportunity, these Spoletans quickly moved to consolidate their control, taking Rome by force. They installed Stephen VI, a puppet pope, on the throne of St. Peter, ensuring their dominance over the papacy. Their rage and fury at Formosus's perceived betrayal, his secret alliance with Arnulf, was legendary, a consuming fire of vengeance. They were determined to erase him from history, to obliterate his memory and legacy from the annals of the Church. Stephen VI, completely under their control, became their willing instrument of vengeance, eager to carry out their dark desires. The Cadaver Synod, a grotesque and unprecedented event, was their answer to Formosus's perceived treachery. It was a public, posthumous humiliation of the deceased pope, a macabre spectacle designed to defame him for eternity. In the treacherous world of 9th century Rome, politics and revenge were intertwined, and they knew no bounds of decency or morality. January of the year 897. A chill wind swept through Rome, carrying whispers of dread and uncertainty. Under the explicit and rather disturbing orders of Pope Stephen VI, the corpse of Pope Formosus was exhumed from its resting place. The earth was disturbed, the silence of the tomb broken. The body, decaying but still recognizable, was then dressed in full papal vestments, adorned in the symbols of his former office. He was propped upright on a throne, ready to face his accusers. What followed was a macabre spectacle. The trial of a dead pope was pure theater, a dark and twisted drama played out on the stage of religious and political intrigue. Pope Stephen, filled with a burning rage and a thirst for revenge, hurled accusations at the silent, decaying defendant. His voice echoed through the hall, filled with venom and condemnation. A trembling deacon appointed to speak for the dead pope could barely stammer out a defense. He was a mere puppet in this grotesque charade. The charges? What heinous crimes could a dead man possibly be guilty of? Perjury, ambition, the usual suspects in the game of papal politics, and, most damningly, violating canon law by switching bishoprics, a transgression against the established order. It was a mere technicality, a flimsy pretext, but it was enough to fuel Stephen's personal vendetta, his all-consuming desire for retribution. The verdict, of course, was inevitable, a foregone conclusion in this mockery of justice. Formosus was found guilty on all counts, condemned in death for the sins he allegedly committed in life. Stephen, in his self-righteous fury, declared all of Formosus's acts and ordinations void, effectively erasing his papacy from the records. This act plunged the already fractured church into further chaos and division, creating deep rifts that would take years to heal. But the desecration didn't end there. In a final, horrifying act of utter disrespect, Stephen ordered the corpse stripped of its papal garments, each piece removed with deliberate cruelty, and in a gesture of ultimate condemnation, he ordered the blessing fingers of Formosus's right hand to be hacked off, rendering him unable to ever bestow blessings again. The sheer brutality of the spectacle shocked even the hardened sensibilities of the Roman populace. Justice, if it could even be called that, had devolved into a grotesque and terrifying performance, a perversion of all that was sacred. The Cadaver Synod, as it became known, stands as a chilling warning throughout history, a stark reminder that unchecked power can corrupt absolutely, leading to unimaginable acts of cruelty and injustice. And sometimes, even in death, the dead continue to suffer the consequences of the living's ambition and hatred. The desecration didn't end in the courtroom. Formosus's mutilated corpse was dragged through Rome, then tossed into a pauper's grave, and later, the Tiber. But the spectacle horrified the people. Superstitious Romans saw the trial as sacrilege, and an earthquake soon after was taken as a sign of divine wrath. Rumors spread. Formosus's body washed ashore performing miracles. Outrage exploded into revolt. Stephen VI was overthrown, imprisoned, and soon strangled in his cell. The Cadaver Synod had claimed its final victim. The people saw Formosus as a martyr, and the church's reputation was stained for generations. The lesson was clear. Even the powerful can fall, and vengeance can destroy its master. Rome would never forget. Stephen's death didn't end the chaos. The papacy spiraled into the Saeculum Obscurum, the Dark Age. Successive popes tried to undo the damage. Formosus was reburied with honor, his acts restored, and the Cadaver Synod condemned. Laws were passed to prevent posthumous trials, but the political pendulum kept swinging. Pope Sergius III, a bitter enemy of Formosus, later reversed the rehabilitation, reigniting chaos. The church was trapped in a cycle of revenge and instability. The Cadaver Synod's poison lingered for decades. It was a time when justice was a weapon, and the dead were never safe. The scars would shape the papacy for generations. Why does the Cadaver Synod still fascinate us? It's a story of power, betrayal, and a trial so macabre it defies belief. The image of a dead pope on trial is unforgettable, a symbol of how far men will go for revenge. The Synod exposes the dark side of power, where justice is twisted and the sacred is profaned. It's a reminder, even the holiest institutions can be corrupted by ambition and hatred. The Cadaver Synod endures because it forces us to confront our deepest taboos. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the thin line between justice and vengeance, and it remains centuries later one of history's most haunting episodes.